Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen was testifying in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee in regard to accusations against Donald Trump, saying that certain countries were so-called shithole countries. Of course, he was talking about African countries, Haiti and El Salvador. Now, during that hearing, she testified that she didn't remember that exact word being used, and Cory Booker was not pleased with her answer. Take a look at their exchange.
Now, I've been in the Oval Office many times, and when the commander-in-chief speaks, I listened. I don't have amnesia on conversations I had in the Oval Office going back months and months and months. And I've had individual meetings with the president, and I've had group conversations where there was, as you said, crosstalk. Dick Durbin to Lindsey Graham, they seem to have a much better recollection of what went on. You're under oath. You and others in that room that suddenly cannot remember. It was Martin Luther King that said, there's nothing in this world more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity. King said, a man dies when he refuses to stand up for that which is right. A man dies when he refuses to stand up for justice. A man dies when he refuses to take a stand. Elie Wiesel says, we must take side. Neutrality helps the oppressor. Gandhi said, silence becomes cowardice. Cowardice. When the occasion demands speaking out like Lindsey Graham did. And that you could even say in your testimony the Norwegians were preferenced by him because they're so hardworking.
I didn't.
Excuse me, let me finish.
Happy to.
Okay, so he was obviously very impassioned during his comments on her testimony. And remember, she said that she remembers tough language, but she doesn't recall exactly what that tough language was. And she said that she didn't recall the word shithole being used by Donald Trump. So that's the reason why Cory Booker responded in that way. Now, there's a follow-up to this story, and the follow-up is accusations of sexism and mansplaining. Who is making those accusations? It's actually the RNC chairwoman. Her name is Ronna McDaniel. She goes on CNN, and hear the case that she's trying to make. Take a look.
Well, Chris, I just think it would have been covered differently if it were a Republican senator yelling or lecturing a woman coming before the Senate, not giving her a chance to explain herself, grandstanding. I know he's auditioning for 2020. I understand that. But he was disrespectful, and he did mansplain to her. And she's an intelligent woman. She's the Secretary of Homeland Security, and she deserved an opportunity to answer.
Well, she was there for a
rant.
long time. She was answering. She just kept saying the same thing.
What? Okay, so she is saying that Cory Booker is mansplaining to her, when in reality, Cory Booker is talking to her, communicating with her in the exact same way that you would expect, senators or other politicians to communicate with one another when they disagree. You see that type of rhetoric being used all the time. To say that he was mansplaining is actually, in my opinion, insulting to women, because she is essentially saying there, well, it's a woman, and so you need to treat her differently. You need to be softer with her. You need to be gentler with her. You can't treat her as if she's an adult who can handle, some criticism or tough talk from another individual.
So I'm going to break down what Ronald McDonald said a little bit better, or a little bit more there. So number one, Cory Booker is not talking about women's issues. He's talking about denigrating all African countries, plus Haiti, plus El Salvador. And first of all, you gotta understand why anybody be upset about that. But Cory Booker's also African American, so I think he gets to be upset about that to any degree that he likes. Now, she says he's grandstanding and running for 2020. Look, he's a politician. If she left it at that, I'd say, okay, he did make a political speech. I think he gets to be pissed about that, and and if you're a progressive and you're questioning, is he really pissed? Who cares, man? He's on the right side of the issue and he's fighting. Good, I want all the Democratic senators to fight, so I'll take it, okay? Now, on to the mansplaining part. So don't hide behind sexism when you are not in favor of women's rights. When you are taking away reproductive rights from women, including a story we did just yesterday, okay? And you're taking away all sorts of rights for women, you don't believe in equal pay, you don't believe in any of these things. And the minute a Republican woman is criticized on any issue, it doesn't matter what the issue is, oh, he's mansplaining. Nope. Now all of a sudden I care about sexism. And I'm claiming that if you dare criticize a Republican woman, that's sexism and it's mansplaining to her. Oh, get the fuck out of here. I'm sorry if you're gonna be offended because, oh, I forgot, Ronald McDonald is a Republican woman. I'm not allowed to criticize her as a progressive. I'm not sure if you got the memo. We don't give a shit about those rules. You're totally full of shit. You're not for women's rights. So don't come in here on a completely different issue trying to subvert the topic and claim the shield of sexism when in reality you guys are not, don't give a damn about that issue.
Cory Booker responded to these accusations. I want to give him an opportunity to respond and you an opportunity to take a look at it. So let's see.
Well, first of all, I'm glad they're finally attacking me. They attack senators almost every single day, but it's a little insulting to say that I should be treating cabinet secretaries one way or another depending upon their gender. I'm standing here as a United States senator in my official capacity, challenging a cabinet secretary who's lying before the Senate on an issue that affects my state, as well as this nation, as well as us internationally, something as serious as her lying about overt bigotry coming out of the White House.
Okay, so I think that's a good response. It is insulting. I wouldn't want any guy to speak to me differently than his male colleagues simply because I'm a woman. Now, she did respond to that, so let's look at her response.
Why would he have to treat Nielsen differently? She's so strong, she's so competent, she's so empowered. Why would he have to talk to her differently than he would to a man?
I don't think he should have to talk to her differently, but I will say he was disrespectful to her as the Secretary of Homeland Security, and he was mansplaining to her. And I do think there's
how
a
is it
hypocrisy.
mansplaining just
There's
because she's a woman? That's what you're saying. Because they talk to people like that all the time, Rana.
Well,
they talk to men like that all the time.
As to how Elizabeth Warren is treated versus how Secretary Nielsen is treated.
The president calls her Pocahontas.
Yeah, but when Democrats interrupt Elizabeth Warren, the media goes crazy. And when it just happened to Secretary Nielsen, they didn't go crazy. It happened.
It's almost impossible to interrupt Elizabeth Warren.
Well, that's a fact. That's true.
No, I have to jump in because first of all, she said Democrats interrupting Elizabeth Warren. No. The drama involving Elizabeth Warren had nothing to do with Democrats interrupting her. It was during the confirmation hearings for Jeff Sessions, and Elizabeth Warren wanted to bring up some concerns over Jeff Sessions' racist past and racist statements. And you know what Republicans in the Senate did? They literally shut her up. They shut her up by using some obscure rule that had never been used before, so she wouldn't be able to continue on with that line of questioning. They didn't mansplain to her, they didn't interrupt her, they literally stopped her from her line of questioning. Okay, that's very different.
That was awesome by Chris Cuomo. So she's like, oh, can you believe the sexism of Cory Booker mansplaining to Nielsen? That's the implication in what Ronald McDonald's saying. And so when she says, and how about Elizabeth Warren? And Cuomo's like, you want to talk about sexism? Trump calls Warren Pocahontas.
Yeah.
That might be the very worst person you could bring up as an example in this context. And you work for Trump. You work for Trump, who brags about sexual assault, been charged by 17 different women saying that he's done these terrible things to them. I mean, we don't even have to get into all that. That calls as United States Senator Pocahontas, and now you're gonna come in here and say, oh, I am shocked and chagrined that a Republican woman wouldn't be treated with respect. I find out that there's sexism in the world.
No, I mean, come on. You are supportive of a president who has openly called women pigs, who has talked about groping women without their consent, who has talked about women's weight and how overweight he thinks certain women are, who has gone after women who have accused him of sexual misconduct by discussing their physical appearance. You want to talk about sexism? Take a good hard look at your own political party.
You just watched the video by the Young Turks, home of the revolution. If you'd like to get a lot more than that, get the full show by becoming a member. tytnetwork.com/join.